Hello, I'm Jake Boudrot, Civic Journalist at Tello Community Television. This week, on The Record, the Senior Center Without Walls hosted the second annual Community Health and Wellness Showcase / Expo of community service providers for older adults in Richmond County, which took place on May 28th in Louisdale. The Municipality of the County of Richmond was approved for provincial funding to investigate clean energy. And in Arichat on May 26th, the Municipality of the County of Richmond hosted an Access Awareness Week flag raising and handed out scholarships and Accessibility Champion Awards. But first, I attended the regular monthly meeting of Richmond Municipal Council on May 27th in Arichat. After the meeting, Deputy Warden Brent Sampson and Warden Lois Landry fielded questions from the media. Near the beginning, Council reviewed the minutes of previous meetings, including 2 budget planning meetings.
We had a budget planning session on April 28th, 2025. Any errors or omissions? And if there are none, I'll entertain a motion to accept. Moved by Councillor Mumbercat, seconded by Deputy Warden Sampson. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried.
So I noticed you had 2 budget meetings, one on April 28th and the other on May 6th. So how is that the budget process going so far?
Yeah, good. Typically, the way budgets are sort of parceled out is you look at your capital expenditures and what you need to do in order to do the things that infrastructure and construction and all of those capital projects, and then there's operations. We are certainly a county that devotes a good amount of our funding to community groups. So grants and donations or parcels of money that go to community groups that do important work for organizations. So what we have so far is a good handle on operations and grants, and we have, I think, definitely 1 and as many as 3 meetings already scheduled to finish up the operations.
This is your first crack at these kinds of budget deliberations as both a councillor and a warden. Any pleasant or unpleasant surprises for you so far?
I think when I look back on my experiences on other boards, so I've sat on credit union boards and provincial boards of this and that, there is sometimes a worry that people will just rubber stamp what staff suggests. That's always my biggest worry. I remember being on boards where staff said, here's what we think, okay, motion carried. And what I am very, very pleasantly surprised about is the extent of detail each of the councillors asks, requires of staff, and the extent of the deliberations. So there is no decision that we will just sort of take without thinking about it, without asking good questions. And I was also very pleased that I think maybe in anticipation of that, staff were very thorough in their preparation for us. So it has been a really good, solid process. There will, at the end of the day, likely be difficult decisions to make. Budgeting is never, there's never enough money for all the things you would like to do. But the thought that goes into our final decisions has been very thorough. And as somebody who's new, that's just great to be a part of.
I know it's early yet. Any possibility of residential or commercial taxes or area rates going up at this point?
It's hard to say. There are some, that's one of the things staff has been really good about, is to say, look, here's an expenditure we really need to move on, but here are all the funding sources we can look at before we have to talk about it coming from the tax rate. So staff is extremely thorough, and we have several applications before provincial funding sources. So we won't really know that until we get to the end of the process. And then you sort of add up your expenditures, add up your money in, and you say, do we need more money in to balance these books? And then you have to decide, does the tax rate go up, or do we take things out that we said we could do? And then at what point do you say, which is the better way to serve our residents? Do we provide services, or are we only mindful of cost? So it is an ongoing kind of back and forth discussion.
During the Committee of the Whole report, Council approved a recommendation from an in-camera session for the sale of property.
Thank you, Warden. Committee of the Whole report, May 2025. The committee met on May 13th, 2025. The committee discussed the recommendation from the in-camera session. I move that Council accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole and authorize the revenue manager to sell property AAN 07963912 at the June 6, 2025 tax sale as discussed in camera.
Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
Now, the land that was sold based on a recommendation from the in-camera session, where's that land and what was there any purpose it was sold for? Is it?
There are often tiny little parcels that are of no consequence, and usually my understanding is they come from sales that sometimes get parceled out of larger sales. So this one was something that was very important to a community and a community building, but of no consequence to us. So that those things sometimes happen. One of the things, in fact, I was just at an event on the weekend and somebody commented that, you know, the tax sale information has been posted. There's a tax sale here on Friday. So the properties that are going up, there really has been a push from staff to really take a look at what our properties are, what our AANs, what our accounts, what hasn't been paid, and to be really conscientious about PIDs that we don't need to have. We have some work going on that was from a motion of council a while back to have a list of all municipal properties, and anybody who wants to build on that, come and talk to us. So we're working on that. So I think as we try to clean up those roles, you may see more of these. To do the greater good.
The Bylaw/Policy Committee recommended an amended dog control bylaw, and later in the meeting, Council gave approval to first reading of the new bylaw.
Bylaw Policy Committee report, May 2025. The committee met on May 6th, 2025. The committee discussed the dog control bylaw. I move that Council accept the recommendation of the Bylaw Policy Committee and proceed with the first reading approval contingent on the outcome of the review by Municipal Affairs and the Solicitor.
So there's a motion on the floor. Can we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. I've been asked to pass along the message that Municipal Affairs has reviewed the out-of-court settlement fee schedule, and EMM Law has reviewed the final changes of the bylaw from the last meeting and has indicated no major concerns. Is there any other discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Those opposed? Nay. Can you make sure the nay vote for Councillor Marchand is recorded? The next bylaw that we are looking at, so totally different kettle of fish, is the dog control bylaw, which we spent a great deal of time looking at. And so I am looking for a motion that would give, and this is a significant one for lots of people. If you own a dog, this is of consequence to you. So you can find the bylaw we are proposing on page 31 to 47 of the package online. So for folks who may want to participate in any discussions that we have, but at our public hearing, you can find it there. So I'm looking for a motion that Council give first reading approval for the proposed new dog control bylaw as presented on pages 31 to 47 of this month's package. Gosh, okay, so Council, yeah, so moved by Councillor Mumbercat and seconded by Deputy Warden Sampson, that we give first reading approval to the proposed new dog bylaw as presented. Any discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Nay. We have a nay. Can we record that, please, Councillor Marchand?
So we wanted to begin by asking about the dog bylaw, and just can you give us a sense of what's different from this one than the previous one that this one is designed to replace?
First thing I'd say, probably there's a lot more detail. It originated from, actually, I believe it was some complaints in the River Bourgeois area. And it kind of, that brought it to council that maybe this was something that should be looked at. It hadn't really been reviewed in a long time. And there's been quite a few changes in it. Trying to make it more effective for everybody. And another thing, the licensing won't need to be renewed every year. Once the dog is, I believe it's a year old, then a person can purchase a tag, which will be for the lifetime of the dog. The municipality will also have a little bit more information than they did on the dogs previously, and it makes it easier to identify them given the situation. If they, are trying to identify them from one dog from another, can be difficult sometimes.
Was that the root of the concerns that you got from River Bourgeois and from other areas?
From what I gathered, it was there was some trouble identifying because there were several similar looking dogs. Yeah.
Right. Any other examples you can give us of some things that might be different from the previous bylaw to the current?
I think just a lot of it's more detail, and we tried to go through everything and figure out, you're always trying to figure out what could go awry or what could go wrong with these things. And some of the feedback was from staff based on past experiences.
Now, just for my own confirmation, I just wanted to make this clear. Richmond still doesn't have a formal animal control officer, or does it?
Yeah, there's somebody on staff that deals with that. Yes, there is a staff member that deals with that. It's not a full-time position, but yeah.
Does this bylaw, if it goes forward, make that person's job easier, do you think?
We hope so. I mean, there was some staff recommendations, in dealing with the person that does the dog control bylaws at this time. A lot of that was sort of brought through the CAO to us of concerns they may have had in the past and how things work, and try and make things a little smoother going forward.
Now, the dog control, what are the specific changes that are being made?
There are some substantial changes. And so largely this came from concerns from both residents and council and people who enforce or are, trying their best to enforce policies and bylaws and rules and regulations around dogs. And so the changes are meant to say, we want healthy dog use, we want everybody to enjoy their pets, but there is a responsibility that comes with dog ownership. So there are clearer and in some cases easier for residents. So for example, our current dog bylaw says you have to register your dog every year. What we're doing in this new policy is you register a puppy, and then at the 1 year mark, you register them again. So you renew at the 1 year mark, and that's it. It's for life. You don't have to keep coming back. So there are things like that we're doing to make things easier. But sometimes you really, in order to enforce rules, you need to make sure those rules are really clearly laid out so nobody is surprised. And we do have several instances across the county where we have residents who have been concerned and are growing concerned about individual dogs or packs of dogs. And so we're trying to kind of look at all the possibilities. So if you have a pack of dogs and they all look exactly the same, what is the way that we can make sure that we are holding the correct dog and its owner accountable? And so there are more summary offenses. It lays out much more thoroughly what your responsibility as a dog owner is. So if you have a gentleman's agreement with your neighbor that your dog can go back and forth between your property and theirs, God bless, that's between you and your neighbor. But if you do not have that kind of agreement, it is your responsibility to make sure that you are in control of your dog. It can be leashed or it can be somehow in your control, but there needs to be an understanding on the part of dog owners that you are responsible for what goes with being a dog owner. That includes picking up after your dog on public property, or when there is, no gentleman's agreement with your neighbors, for example, other people's private property, roaming, what happens when a dog bites somebody, when a dog intimidates somebody, when a dog is barking incessantly. So all of those things are much more thoroughly laid out, so there are no surprises when somebody says, you're doing something I don't want you to do. And that makes the enforcement of that much easier for people who will enforce it eventually.
Do you get the sense that this has been needed for quite a while?
No, yes, yeah. And it's only, you don't need it until you do. And so, you know, I've always had a dog, always. And we've, you know, my family always had dogs, and our neighbors had dogs. And our, you know, we had dogs that were working dogs and they lived outside or whatever. But what we see now is we see more breeds that we didn't see 50 years ago. And there's no restricted breed, but there are breeds that, you know, we would expect, no matter what your dog is, we expect you to look after your dog. And so when you have maybe people who didn't grow up side by side forever, you have people who move here from away, and they have every right to say, you know, I don't want your dog on my property. So those kinds of things, I think we just want to firm up the concerns that we have about dog use.
A recommendation for new maximum setbacks for commercial wind turbines from the Planning Advisory Committee was approved by Council, and first reading of the new setbacks in response to new provincial requirements, as well as amendments to sections of the Land Use Bylaw and the West Richmond Planning Area Land Use Bylaw, were also approved.
Planning Advisory Heritage Committee Report, May 2025. The committee met on May 6th, 2025. The committee discussed the new maximum setbacks for commercial wind turbines. I move that Council accept the recommendation of the Planning Advisory Heritage Committee and proceed with the adoption process for the proposed amendments to Policy 5-52 of the Municipality of the County of Richmond Municipal Planning Strategy addressing wind turbine setbacks as presented.
So we have a motion on the floor. For those following along, there is a staff report on pages 23 and 24, and the turbine setbacks as presented are on page 25 of your package. Can I have a seconder on that motion?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor Memberket. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried.
I move that Council accept the recommendation of the Planning Advisory Heritage Committee and proceed with the adoption process for the proposed amendments to Section 6359A and 6359B of the Municipality of the County of Richmond Land Use Bylaw as presented.
And for those folks following along, that's on page 26 of the package, the presented proposed amendments. Can I have a seconder on that? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried.
I move that Council accept the recommendation of the Planning Advisory Heritage Committee and proceed with the adoption process for the proposed amendments to Part 9 and Part 15 of the West Richmond Planning Area Land Use Bylaw as presented.
Thank you. The proposed amendments can be found on page 27 of the package. Can I have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor Memberket. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Now we are into first reading approval for a lot of things. So the first is proposed amendments addressing the maximum setbacks for commercial wind turbines in response to new provincial setback requirements. So just for folks who are following along, the province has made the province of Nova Scotia introduced amendments to the Environment Act regulations concerning wind energy development. These amendments establish proportional setback distances between wind turbines and nearby dwellings. And the intent of, and there's some additional provisions related to sound levels and shadow flicker. The intent of the change is to create a consistent province-wide standard while addressing public concerns raised by residents and municipalities. So we have three proposed amendments. So I have the motions here, which I will read out, and if somebody is willing to move, and then a seconder, will move along. So I would entertain a motion that Council give first reading approval for the proposed amendments to Policy 5-52 of the Municipality of the County of Richmond Municipal Planning Strategy, as presented on page 25 of your package. Can I have someone move that? Moved by Councillor Mershon, or Councillor Membercat. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. The second is related to land use bylaw, so I would entertain a motion that council give first reading for the proposed amendments to section 6-35.9A and 6-35.9B of the Municipality of the County of Richmond land use bylaw as presented on page 26 of the package. Anybody prepared to make that motion? Moved by Councillor Memberket. Can I have a seconder?
Brent's exhausted.
Yeah, I know.
I've read 4 reports. I'm done.
Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. And the last of these three, looking for a motion, the council give first reading approval for the proposed amendments to Part 9 and Part 15 of the West Richmond Planning Area Land Use Bylaw as presented on page 27. I have somebody make that motion.
Okay, I'll make the motion.
Great, thanks. Moved by Councillor Memberket. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Any discussion on that?
I find it funny that we are adding to the West Richmond land use bylaw under right of use utility wind turbines when they've been there for 15, 20 years. And here we are adding it 15 years later. It makes me wonder, was that a permitted use way back? Did somebody allow 7 turbines to go when we're here adding it now as a permitted use? So I find that odd that that's happening many years later. Not that I'm against change, just my comment.
So,
I'm sure it was an as of right thing, but I want to confer with John.
Sure.
okay.
I think there was alternate energy things.
There was a different terminology, maybe?
was.
Okay.
Yes.
Power generation. Okay.
Station.
So what we know is that the work we are doing here tonight in this matter is to align our strategy with required provincial regulations.
Warden, the terminology from the old bylaw was questionable, I guess. Somehow council must have approved it using that. EDPC did confirm that the previous council from way back when whenever, I don't know how long ago those wind turbines were there, I don't know. Or if it wasn't council, apologies, then EDPC used it as a way to approve that development. And this was to kind of better align with the...
So we have a motion on the floor to give first reading approval to proposed amendments to Part 9 and 15 of the West Richmond Planning Area Land Use Bylaw as presented on page 27 of the package. That was moved and seconded. Do we have any other, Councillor Sampson? Yep. Do we have any other discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried.
Now, the maximum setbacks for wind turbines, is that about kind of putting some regulations and rules around the development in that area? Is that what?
Right. So there have always been rules, with exception of one area, I think, in our municipal planning strategy and bylaws, and we had setbacks. So how far can it be from an existing dwelling? We had setbacks that are actually pretty close to what the province wants to see. So not a big deal for us. Just a terminology. So I believe we had, for example, 1,000 feet apart from, or depending on how many megawatts the turbine would be. But what the province wants is some consistency across the province. So what they're looking at is, X times, I think it's 3 or 4 times the height of the windmill. That's how far you have to be. So it really is very, very little change for us because what we had in place was almost exactly what the province is asking for. I think there are some other municipalities that either had setbacks that were considerably different than the province's, or they were considering much more significant setbacks. And I think, the information from the province is that as we look to greener solutions and more, moving towards net zero and zero emissions, this is an important step, and we need to consider the community's concerns, but not have that dictate to any larger extent than what the province is proposing.
For either the provincial or municipal view, who do you feel this impacts the most? Would it impact residential customers trying to put up a small turbine? Would it impact industrial customers, or a little of both?
We just don't have a lot of turbines here. I'll go back to when Everwind first made the proposal for wind turbines, and there was one piece of Crown land in Richmond County that was included in the first parcel of Crown land pieces that were given to Everwind, and they had to trade it, like they had to do tradesies, because the Crown land that they were offered in Richmond County was surrounded by private land, and there was no access road to it. So we're not Guysborough that has, or Cumberland County. So it's a bit of a nothing burger in Richmond County, to be honest, compared to some other parts of the province that really do have considerable arguments and reticence on the part of their residents about whether windmills should go somewhere or not.
Another recommendation from the Planning Advisory Committee for accessory dwelling units and amendments to the municipal planning strategy for the Isle Madame area were approved by Council. Later in the meeting, the Warden discussed service connections for accessory dwellings on lots that can be subdivided.
The committee discussed accessory dwelling units. I move that Council accept the recommendation of the Planning Advisory Heritage Committee and amend the Isle Madame Municipal Planning Strategy and Land Use Bylaw to remove the special provision requiring the lot to be capable of being subdivided in compliance with the requirements of the zone and the Richmond County Subdivision Bylaw.
This motion relates to accessory dwelling units, and you can find information about that on pages 28 to 30. So there's a motion on the floor. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Can I have any discussion on that?
The amendments are for two main dwellings. The policy G31. I'd like to make a change in that we don't even limit the number to two. Just have it that they want to put two extra backyard suites or three. Let's not put a number on it. Property can take more than two. Let them at it.
Okay. So can I ask you to phrase that in the form of a motion? We'll call for a seconder and we'll have some discussion on it once it's a motion.
I'm not really amending the motion. Yeah, I'm not amending the motion. The motion's not specific, I'm just going with the report that speaks of the change that they want to those sections. So I don't know what page it's on, but it's page 1 of 3 of the
Pages 28 to 30 on your package.
In the package, yeah. So
hang on.
it's page 1 of 3 of the change that in chapter 3, subsection 3, and policy.
The last line of the proposed amendment reads, within the plan area, 2 main dwellings on 1 lot will be permitted. So is your amendment to
Just not even put.
so additional dwellings?
Additional dwellings is fine for policy G31 and then above subsection 3, where it says the construction of a second dwelling on a single lot is a housing lot approach. We don't even have to, allowing 2 or more dwellings, just allowing extra dwellings. So that's in the municipal planning strategy.
Municipal planning strategy, before that section that is being changed, there is reference to more than 2 dwellings, right? So maybe I just...
There's reference in that to accessory dwellings. So I think section 1 as well. But I don't think we should put a limit. If these backyard suites that are being made by Brela, if someone wants to put 2 on their property, they should be allowed with another main dwelling. So we shouldn't limit the number, is my thing, because we're going to 2. And with the size of these these homes, you can probably put 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's not limit it.
Chapter 3 is the amendment that we're looking at, but Chapter 2 reads, multiple unit dwellings, dwellings with 3 or more units, and group dwellings, 2 or more dwellings containing 2 or more units on the same lot, can be accommodated within the plan area, but steps must be taken to ensure that such developments are not so densely built that they do not fit into the existing neighborhood. For this reason, restrictions will be placed on the density of these types of developments. So, Mike, I am very sympathetic. I'm very interested in what you're saying. I guess what I'm concerned about is that the change that I'm hearing you propose may require a larger change in Chapter 2 of what I just read. No, if we make that change, it doesn't jive with earlier in Chapter 2. Do you understand my So I just read Chapter 2, which talks, yes. So what I'm saying is the proposal you're making is to change Chapter 3, which then doesn't seem to jive with Chapter 2.
So is it a substantive enough change, though, that we would need to kick this back? Because we think we do have this kind of scheduled as a bylaw change, right? It's within our planning committee report right now.
Maybe we allow the first reading
Yeah.
and look at it further, because we want to get this home placed on that lady's property. So I'll remove my amendment.
Just for folks who are following along, there are places in Richmond County, specifically Isle Madame, where an additional dwelling has some restrictions on it. And our goal is to change that so that we can promote folks taking advantage of programs that provide funding for backyard suites. So what we've agreed on at the Planning Advisory Committee, which has gone through these steps, is that we will make that change. What Councillor Marchand is referring to is, can we go even further than that? So before we move on to your next question, we have a motion on the floor, which is following the package on, yes, so which page was the page 21? Okay, so to remind ourselves, on page 22 of the package, I'm going to read it again so we're all clear. I move that the council accept the recommendation of the Planning Advisory Heritage Committee to amend the Isle Madame Municipal Planning Strategy and Land Use Bylaw to remove the special provision requiring the lot to be capable of being subdivided in compliance with the requirements of the zone in Richmond County subdivision bylaw. So that is the motion, and it was seconded, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, seconded. So we're voting on that motion. Any other debate on that for now? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
So the motion that I want to make is that we recommend, I guess, or get this added to the next planning advisory to look at this further, to add more than 2 units. I like to have, I don't even know if we need a motion, really.
I don't think we do. You can just submit the agenda item to the chair far enough in advance.
You can probably make the motion now, though, and then it's...
Sure, then it's automatically done? Sure.
Well, then I'll make the motion that we recommend that we, I guess, move this item of additional dwellings in the municipal planning strategy land use bylaw to planning advisory for further discussion.
Can we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. The next bylaw, a proposed amendment, revolves around accessory dwelling units. As I mentioned earlier, we are, this council and the PAC committee that includes 2 citizen reps are really committed to making sure we are facilitating as much housing as we can. So to that end, I would entertain a motion that council give first reading approval for the proposed amendments to the municipal planning strategy for the Isle Madame plan area, Chapter 3, subsection 3A, and policy G-3.1A as presented on pages 28 and 29 of your package, should you be following along. And I have a motion. Somebody make that motion. Councillor Marchand, moved by Councillor Marchand. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sampson. Any other discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. And there is a second piece to that. So looking to entertain a motion that council give first reading approval for the proposed amendments to the land use bylaw for the Isle Madame Plan area, section 33 as presented on page 30 of your package. I have a mover for that, moved by Councillor Sampson. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Marchand. Any discussion on that?
I want to make the same comment in reference to the municipal planning strategy that we look at this further as well to change the number. Thank you.
Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. To give a little background, we know that there is a secondary and backyard suite incentive program on that provincial government has put in place. Eligible applicants can receive up to 50% of eligible costs up to a maximum of $40,000. It's intended to support seniors, adults with disabilities, and those who cannot afford market rentals. So costs remain high, though, and so we're looking to explore ways to bring down costs and to let property owners do things on their own lot. So the motion I'm looking for is that council direct staff to explore possible revisions to our current utility regulations around the hookup of secondary units on the same property. And Chris, our public works person, would like that motion to say, including lots that can be subdivided and those that can't. He'd like to break it down into two separate kind of parts of the report. Okay. So I'm looking for a motion if somebody would. Moved by Councillor Sampson. Moved by Councillor Sampson. Can I have a seconder?
I'll second.
So some discussion on that. Did you have something?
We shouldn't even have to worry about subdivided or not. Just allow the connections.
Yeah,
just remove it.
Thinks it's easier if it reads that so that if he can list any concerns for one and not the other. It's up to council to take that information in and make decisions. But there may be some differences that he would like to parcel out in two separate parts of the same report.
And then we can decide.
And then we can decide what to do. Yeah. But it just, and I think some of this comes from the fact that I've already made a mistake in my memo, because accessory, and to be clear, accessory dwellings can mean sheds and garages, and those can have hookups from the existing dwelling on the property. So it just to sort of make the terminology smoother and more consistent and easier for us to digest. And we are going to run in with problems when the province uses terminology that might be different, and utilities sometimes use different than, yeah. Okay, so any other discussion on that? No? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried.
Now, when it comes to accessory dwelling units, do you think that some limits are going to have to be put on that you're not going to be able to have, you know, a lot of units in the backyard, and at some point, if there's too many, then does it undermine the program overall, or how do you see that?
So there's two things there. There's like the program, and then there's the bylaws and the planning, the zoning that we put in place. So what we know is that we are in the middle of a housing crisis. We are in the middle of we have moved past crisis, and we are pretty close to catastrophe, if you ask me. So what Richmond County is doing is that we are saying, what are all the ways that developers or individual homeowners can get support to increase the housing stock in Richmond County? And we need to get out of the way and make sure that everybody can do all the things they would like to do. So there is a program the provincial government has. It's one of the few that I'm aware of, so that if you want to put a backyard suite, backyard accessory dwelling on your property, the government will give you 50% of that that cost up to a maximum of $40,000. So if you get $80,000, if it takes $80,000, they'll give you 40. If it costs $100,000, you still only get 40. But that is $40,000 from the government, which is no joke. So we want to make sure that anybody in Richmond County who wants to take advantage of that can do so. And in most parts of the county, you could, but for reasons that go way, way back, there was in Isle Madame, there were restrictions on how big your lot had to be in order to put a secondary dwelling. So we want to remove that. The question, so that you could put one single accessory dwelling. The question becomes, and Councillor Marchand asked that this go to our PAC, what if you have a big enough property and you want to put 2 accessory dwellings? And keep in mind, if you look at some of our properties in more rural areas that are acres and acres and acres and acres and acres and acres, do we want to interfere with that? But it is a question that begs more thought. So for now, we are moving ahead with the change so that you can have 1 accessory dwelling every part of Richmond County. We only needed to make the 1 change in Isle Madame. We are looking at any other things that allow people to build as quickly and as often as they can.
Are you and council hearing it not just from residents, but also from potential developers that this type of amendment to the bylaw would be helpful, as you say, to spark affordable housing, but also housing in general in Richmond County and especially in Isle Madame?
Yeah, so much of this happened because of this $40,000 program. So there is a family in Isle Madame who have worked with Brela Homes to build an accessory unit that will be moved out onto the property at some point. It's actually sitting at Brela. It's lovely, and it's I had the kid who's going to move in. He's not a kid, he's a man now, and it's just a tremendous thing. So in those, and I will point out that when that went on Facebook about, hey, look what we're doing over here, there were several comments from other municipalities saying, I wish we could do that in our county, but the zoning didn't allow it. So it was really that kind of, oh, hold the phone. Is there actually any place in Richmond County where you wouldn't be able to do it? And it turned out on Isle Madame, if you had a certain lot size, you couldn't. So that is the change we're making. And what I really want to say, super, and to that point about the accessory dwelling, in the last 2 weeks, I've had 4 people ask me how to apply for that. So we want to facilitate all the things. And I really do want to say that we are determined to not have to have people come to us and say, hey, I would like to do this. We want to get out ahead of those kinds of things. What are all the ways that people might want to build in the future? And therefore, what can we do to make sure that they don't have to come to us, that we anticipate that and we're out ahead of it? So another example of that is that the CMHC, Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation, has just released a catalog of units, housing plans. And they haven't released the specs yet and the architectural designs, but those are coming this spring. So you would think sometime before the end of June. One of the things we have on our PAC meeting is, here's what the catalog looks like. Are there any places where somebody wouldn't be able to build these? Let's make those changes now before the catalog even comes out, so that we are not getting in, that we need to get out of the way when people want to build, given that we are in a housing crisis.
Correspondence from the Strait Area Chamber of Commerce about a housing steering committee and a request for funding to support the nonprofit At Home Housing Association were reviewed by council.
We have a second under action required, which is a letter from Tanya Felix, Strait Area Chamber of Commerce Housing Steering Committee regarding a request for funding to support nonprofit housing association. And that is certainly a good news story, that they are lots of forward momentum then. You know you're moving forward when you're asking for money. So
I'll make a motion to refer that budget.
so moved by Councillor Mumbercat, seconded by Councillor Sampson, that we defer the request from Tanya Felix of the Strait Area Chamber of Commerce to budget deliberations. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried.
one piece of correspondence you received from Tanya Felix with the Strait Area Chamber of Commerce about a steering committee and funding request. So it's you guys would participate in the formation of the steering committee or participate, and what kind of a funding request are you looking at? Is there any ballpark figure been put on that?
Yes, so the council in the previous council and the town of Port Hawkesbury kind of came together, discussions with the chamber, acknowledging we are in a housing crisis, and bearing in mind that we are constantly looking at opportunities and potential in significant industry in the Strait of Canso. So, we're having Superport Days are coming up at the end of June, and I, saw the program for it. And it talks about Everwind and Bearhead and Port Hawkesbury Paper and Wind. So we know we have a housing crisis now, and we are encouraging people to come and move here for these big projects. And so where are they going to live? So there is a clear recognition that we need to fire on all cylinders. So the decision was made to put together a not-for-profit, much like the Antigonish Affordable Housing or there's a new one in Guysborough and New Dawn. So those folks are doing tremendous things, and they are getting people into affordable housing. So many thanks to the Chamber of Commerce, who has decided to be the tip of the spear and to kind of set that in motion. So they hired a consultant, Tom Gunn, who put together a steering committee. So that steering committee is already in place. One of our councillors, Councillor Mumbercat, who chairs the Strait Area Housing Coalition.
Housing Matters Coalition.
That one. So she sits on that steering committee as an example. And so that steering committee's job is to get all of the governance pieces in place. So that's just incredibly important. Governments just don't give money to people that don't have a good governance structure, right? So that is happening in corporation, all of those things. And so as they move towards an established board, which the steering committee will kind of step aside and a new board will take in, that board needs to have some money to hire the people that are going to make all this happen. And so the request is, I want to say, in the 20 to 25 range for fiscal $1,000 for fiscal 25-26, because it's not a full year. But so a larger ask for 26-27, I think in the 40-45 range.
So this is the new at-home housing association that was unveiled in Louisdale last week?
That's right. Yep. So that is sort of funding to help that at-home organization get up off their feet and to make things happen. And one of the things that came out of that, I wrote it down. I don't have it in front of me, but I remember Arichat from New Dawn talked about how what we need is for everybody to do what they want to do and what they feel comfortable doing. We need them to do it. So if you're a developer and you want to build homes, go for it. You want to build small apartments for seniors that are market rent, giver. You want to build affordable units? Absolutely. We need so much housing across the entire spectrum that the things that we're doing in council and PAC is really saying, what are all the ways we can get people in homes, and each thing has to happen. There's no competition here. If they build those units, I won't be able to fill mine. We can fill all of them. We can fill all the units. So we just need lots of things at different price points. So this is very specifically affordable housing, and in some cases, deeply affordable. Deeply affordable meaning when you say, how much money do you make? We're going to take 30 to 40% of your income. So that's deeply affordable. Affordable is usually, we talk about 80% of market rates. And we also need some reasonably priced units. And we need something that, people who want to spend a little bit more on their dwelling, if that's what their income allows, great. We need all the things.
So I'm here with Celeste Goetel, Community Outreach Coordinator for the Seniors Take Action Coalition of Richmond County. And we're at the Louisdale Parish Hall at the annual Community Health and Wellness Showcase / Expo. So first off, perhaps you can talk about your group and its role in this event.
Sure. The Seniors Take Action Coalition of Richmond County has been really operating since 2016. It first operated for a number of years as a group of individuals that worked with older adults, seniors clubs. But then in 2023, we became registered as a not-for-profit organization. So essentially, our role is to promote an age-friendly community and to do whatever we can to improve the lives of older adults for Richmond County. So that could take on a variety of things, including writing letters to government officials, running programs, doing educational workshops, offering conferences. This particular event came out of a couple of reasons. One is last year we had a conference here in Louisdale, and during our lunch hour, we had a very mini version of this. And a lot of our participants, we had about 125 people come that day. They said they would like to have this, but more kind of just this and not speakers. So we did it for that reason. So we're here from 10 till 2. And the second reason we did this is Seniors Take Action Coalition was very involved in a local research project called Acting Collectively that was done in CBRM, Victoria, Richmond County. And it was about connecting older adults with services that they need as they grow older and age well in place. So we brought together 38 community service providers for both the healthcare sector, social services, and not-for-profit. So that older adults in Richmond County know what services are available for them. They may not need those services now, but they may need them down the road. So that's kind of the purpose of the day. And we did that in partnership with our partners in crime at the Seniors Fleur de Lis Club here in Louisdale. We do a lot of events jointly with them.
Okay, so this is the second annual event. You had it last year.
In a mini version. Last year we had it. It was only for like an hour.
Okay.
And people said it was much too rushed. They didn't get a chance to visit all the booths. So we said, okay, well, we'll just do one and that's all we'll do. So the response has been overwhelming.
Yeah.
We put out a call to our many community organizations, our government partners. And I mean, as you can tell, once you get a bit of footage, that it's full. I mean, we've got, there's no tables that are empty. So.
And this is a big hall, so it's not easy to fill this hall.
Yeah, it's a big hall, and the uptake and the enthusiasm on the part of our providers to be able to offer this to the community was very heartwarming.
So my understanding is this event involves over 35 organizations.
Yeah, 35 organizations, everything from the Alzheimer's Society of Nova Scotia to the Almadam Garden Club to Cape Breton Family Resource Place, the Women's Center, many staff from Nova Scotia Health, Palliative Care Society, and many, many others.
So obviously this year things are going well. You got to, it's probably a good idea having a morning session and an afternoon session just in case someone has an appointment or whatever.
Exactly.
They can come in,
Exactly. It's such on a drop-in basis, so you can come anytime between 10 and 2. We've got refreshments for those of you that are here during the morning and in the afternoon. And if you happen to come over your lunch hour, we'll have sandwiches available for people as well. We're doing door prize draws throughout the day on the hour. We have a number of donated prizes that we're giving out, and it's a great event. And East Coast Credit Union has provided us with a community grant, so they're one of the official sponsors of this particular event. So thanks to them.
It's a great way to link people to the services that they might not know about or they can access.
Absolutely. And I mean, there are so many wonderful services and people that we have. So often all we ever hear about is complaints about people not being able to access services. But in actual fact, Richmond County has an abundance of service providers, and an opportunity like today gives people a chance to meet people face to face, not have to go through an internet or find them on a website. They're meeting them up close and personal and talking to them about what they provide.
Yeah, and then people can find a fit that's right for them in whatever their situation, health status.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I know it's too early to say now, but based on the success of this year, I assume this would be something you guys would look at having in the future, possibly next year.
Civic Action Coalition has a lot of great ideas, but we're a not-for-profit organization, so a lot of what we do depends on the accessing grants. So we don't have any kind of core operating funding, and hopefully that will be coming soon, which will allow us to continue to do things like this. We did it in Louisdale because it's central. Fleur de Lis Club is a great partner with us, and but maybe in another year we might consider doing it in another community. It's a great way to hear about what's going on in your community, meet with your service providers, and as I said, it's really important as we get older to understand what services are available. Most of the folks in Richmond County do not live in nursing homes. They live in their own home. And knowing what services are available to people helps them to have a better quality of life and to age well in place. So that's kind of what we're all about at Seniors Take Action Coalition.
Well, and that's an interesting point you brought up, because I remember, excuse me, I recall at one point, and I think it was the presentation you guys gave last week at the Acting Collectively presentation, and you mentioned that, you know, when they talk about seniors, a lot is about long-term care, but not enough about the people who aren't in long-term care who are living in their homes or not in that.
90% of seniors still live in their home and still live and 10% live in nursing homes. So we really need to make sure that older adults have access to the services that they need so that they can remain in their home as long as possible.
First, to get your name and the group that you're representing. And
hi, I'm Beth Bennett. I'm the manager of community development with the Alzheimer's Society of Nova Scotia.
why are you here? Why did you decide to take part in this?
I decided to take part in this because it's a wonderful community event. A lot of community members may not know about our programs and services, so it's important to get out there and connect with them, raise awareness about the Alzheimer's Society and how we can provide support for families living with dementia. Absolutely.
I'm sure you're working with a lot of groups in this area.
Yeah, I've done a lot of education sessions with different groups. So talking about a lot about how to reduce the risk, about brain health, and understanding dementia, because we all have a connection to it. So the more we know, the better we do and can support someone living with it.
And have you had much interest? Many people coming by and talking to you? I know there's a lot of people here. It's pretty big event. So how things are going for you?
It's going well. Lots of interest. I brought bags here so people can come fill a bag with resources, and we're able to connect with other community service providers too.
That is important too, that, you know, you exchange emails and there might be Zoom calls and that, but that face-to-face contact is really important.
It sure is. So, and there's a lot of faces that I know here. It's good to see them again, like Cora and the senior safety coordinator, caregivers Nova Scotia's here. So wonderful to all be together doing the same thing and being here for the same reason.
Having everybody under one roof, it's a lot easier than having to navigate the internet. And, you know, all these things are here for the people and they can decide what's a good fit for them and seek out what they want to seek out, I guess, too.
That's right. So they don't have to do the research at home. Everything's here, and then they can take their bag home and see what suits them and fits with their needs.
Now, do you go to a lot of events like this? Is there a lot of things of this nature that you guys would attend?
We do, and we do across the province. So we have regional coordinators who attend different expos and displays. Our coordinator in Cape Breton, she covers, so she's based out of Sydney. So she would cover all of Cape Breton, doing a lot of different education sessions and expos and raising awareness.
If you guys were called to attend next year, I assume it's worth it for you guys to go.
Yes, it is. We would be back.
So George and Claire, EO of Rocky Bay, I'm here with. And why did you guys show up today? What were you hoping to get out of this?
Well, I can say I came here because I was scared there might be something I don't know.
Yeah.
In other words, there's always something you can learn.
Have you learned much coming here or?
Yeah, I was talking to a lady. They built a greenhouse that's half underground, and they were able to grow stuff right into January last year, which I thought was interesting. But that would be a lot of work, too much for me right now, but it's intriguing.
Yeah, and you do a lot of your own growing. I know that. You guys go to farmers markets all over the place, and you guys grow all kinds of stuff. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. And I assume you guys are doing the same this year. You got your stuff on the grow, and you've already done your planting, I assume.
I'll stop gardening 10 minutes after I'm dead. But I was talking to another guy that he has a hydroponic greenhouse. So he's growing vegetables without soil.
Yes.
And there's a lot of advantages. It's all automatic and there's never any weeds.
Yeah.
So it's intriguing.
It's intriguing. A lot of work, but intriguing.
Everything. Like greenhouses are a lot of work. There's, I find they're really a lot of work.
A lot of maintenance.
Yeah. And they need a lot of water because of the extra heat. The water evaporates so quickly.
Yeah.
If you have anything in the greenhouse that's a potted plant, it dries out in one day.
Yeah.
So it needs a lot of attention.
Yeah. So what do you think of this in general, though? It seems to be a great way to connect people to the services and the groups that they want. And it's, it's kind of a one-stop shop. You can go in and kind of pick whatever booth you want to talk to. And what do you think of an event like this?
It's worth attending. Better that than sitting around waiting to die.
Yeah, that's true. And is this something that you'd continue to go to maybe next year if they had it? And there'll be different events.
So far, I didn't get to see everything yet, but so far, I'd say it's worth attending.
Yeah. What else have you visited?
Well, I visited the Almadam Garden Club there. They've got a very nice display.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
It's talking. Let's see.
Yeah.
It's more the people I bumped into than the booths, but there's interesting information in each display.
To get up in the morning and have a reason for living, and if you don't get up, you're not going to get up. And you come and you socialize. I mean, find out a lot of things. We do. Every day we're growing something, we're planting something. We're in the garden from morning to night. I like to be outside, but the deer is a big problem. The deer is eating everything, so you got to work more different to try to stop them.
Yeah.
And you definitely learn by doing, and so you get information.
Yeah. So where did you hear about this?
Oh, I marked things down. I looked at when we come to sometimes Louisdale here, they have once a month they have at the end of the month they have a session with different things. We come to that, so we learn a lot of the things that I've learned here today. We've learned too before at these sessions, and you always pick up something, and it's good. Right.
Yeah, and like you said, there's a social aspect to it, but it also allows you to connect with people who are groups and that are offering services and some things you might be interested in.
Yeah, you end up meeting people you didn't know you knew.
Yeah.
That's
what you mean.
So we never stop. We keep on keeping on.
That's important.
And first thing we start in the morning by going to church, and we go to mass every day when we can, and then put everything in God's hands. And so He's guiding us, and the Holy Spirit is guiding us, and this is what He's guided us to do today.
Hi, I'm Sonia Morris, and my fitness business is called Sonic Sons, and I registered in 2020. So my business is as an outreach fitness, nutrition and wellness coach, and my car is in my gym, and I can be accessed throughout Richmond County if there's a need within the community halls or churches.
So where did you hear about this? How did you come to get involved and show up here today?
I was invited by Celeste Hotel to see if I wanted to participate in the Expo, because I also reach all ages and all abilities. So it was well worth being able to come and actually do the importance of maintaining our strength and looking after our wellness and our nutrition as we also get older, because it plays an important role. And we lose strength as we get older, and we have our hormones change, and we get more risk of health issues and osteoporosis and arthritis. So strength plays as just one big component of the whole world of wellness.
Yeah, and this is a good fit in something like this. It's a little bit of a different booth, because you're promoting fitness, and a lot of these are about other things, but in the context of this, it's a good fit in this event.
I think so. It's trying to see if there's any gaps within the community that we're in, and as this is Nova Scotia Cape Breton, it's given that reach, and that I can also provide some of my programs that I've already pre-written, and I could actually pass them out, and they can be adapted and used by other community members that are here. They can actually run and adapt, and you use that information as well to be able to instruct.
So it's a well-attended event. There's a lot of people here. And how much interest have you got? I noticed there's people around your table that you were talking to.
A few people ask me questions and, you know, in different ways of, you know, for strengthening or posture. A few people whether or not I would go further afield, like maybe to Sydney, Mulgrave, and again, that can very well be on the cards. It can be done as in person or Zoom and online. So there has been an interest into the strength side of it. With my classes are structured as it's low impact, so it's more conducive to a lot of people that are not, as we would say, physically fit. So if you're less able, it's a chance to build your foundation and grow.
So if you were asked again next year to attend, would you attend? You know, based on
Yes.
the fact that it was good this year.
Yes, I would, because it's all about sharing your knowledge, and what better place to be able to put to share that knowledge. If I can share any of my programs, any of my ebooks for people to help with their wellness journey and active lifestyle journey, then yes. And you can always check out YouTube on Talil under Sonic Son's Body Boost Part 1 and Part 2 for a little at-home workout. It has a modified version as well as a regular version, and you can always check them out on YouTube to do at home.
The municipality of the County of Richmond was approved under the Provincial Clean Fuels Fund. The municipality will receive $221,250 for the Strait of Canso Clean Fuels Domestic Use Strategy, the Department of Energy said, noting that the aim is to harness the significant green hydrogen potential for local heavy industry. Richmond Warden Lois Landry said Richmond County is extremely pleased to be successful in its application. She said the grant will enable the county and project partners to create a roadmap on how to decarbonize key sectors of the local economy and attract new industries through the application and availability of locally produced clean fuels. The province said this is the second round of funding. Energy Minister and Richmond MLA Trevor Boudrot said Nova Scotia is seizing the tremendous opportunities to develop and use low carbon and renewable fuels to power its industries and businesses. Through the Clean Fuels Fund, Boudreau said his government is providing a financial boost to innovators who want to put these fuels to work and help grow the green economy. In all, 7 projects involving clean fuels innovation were provided a total of $3 million, the province said. According to the Department of Energy, the Clean Fuels Fund was a 2-year initiative totaling $6 million. The fund started in 2023-2024 with $3 million for 7 ready-to-launch projects. The province added that recipients were able to get 75% of project costs covered if their costs were $500,000 or less, and they could get 50% covered if their costs were more than $500,000.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the flag raising. As we raise the flag to mark Access Awareness Week, we recognize the importance of building communities that are inclusive, barrier-free, and accessible to all. This week is a time to celebrate the contributions of persons with disabilities and to renew our commitment to equity and inclusion in everything we do. So I'll read the proclamation. Access Awareness Week, May 25th to 31st, 2025. Whereas the week of May 25th to 31st, 2025 is recognized as Access Awareness Week, and Access Awareness Week aims to celebrate the achievements made both by and for persons with disabilities in the area of accessibility, transportation, housing, employment, recreation, education, and communication. And this is the 39th year that this public awareness initiative has taken place in Nova Scotia. And the theme for 2025 Access Awareness Week is Our Voices, Our Votes, Disability Rights in Action. And accessibility barriers are many and interconnected. Removing and preventing them is challenging and complex. And the foundation of Nova Scotia's Accessibility Act is to provide, support, and protect the rights of persons with disabilities to full inclusion and accessibility by the identification, prevention, and removal of accessibility barriers. And Access Awareness Week promotes the inclusion of all Nova Scotians with disabilities as full citizens within our communities. And through public awareness, community partnerships, and education, this campaign aims to foster an environment of equal participation for persons with disabilities within the municipality of the County of Richmond. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Warden Lois Landry, on behalf of Richmond County Municipal Council, do hereby proclaim May 25th to 31st, 2025 as Access Awareness Week in Richmond County, dated at Arichat, this 26th day of May, 2025. Good morning. Welcome to Richmond County's celebration of Access Awareness Week. We're so pleased to have you with us today as we recognize the achievements of individuals who are helping to make our communities more accessible and inclusive for everyone. This is a time to honor leadership, dedication, and the ongoing efforts to remove barriers, both seen and unseen. We are especially proud to present our Accessibility Champion Awards and scholarships, which highlight the meaningful contributions and bright futures of those working to advance accessibility in our region. Thank you to our nominators, supporters, and all who continue to advocate for equity and inclusion. Together, we are building a stronger, more welcoming Richmond County. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are proud to be gathered today in Unama'ki, the land of the fog, a part of Mi'kma'ki, the unceded traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people since time immemorial. We honor and thank the Mi'kmaq for sharing their land and home with us. So without further ado, I will call on Amanda Mumbercat, who is the chair of our IDEA committees.
Okay, thank you, Lois. All right, so we are going to jump right into the most important part of our agenda today, and we'll begin with our presentation of the scholarships. So about this, little bit about the scholarships. The Nova Scotia League for Equal Opportunities, or NSLEO, as we affectionately call it, recognized that in addition to the financial costs of pursuing a post-secondary education, students with disabilities have the added costs associated with their disability. For more than 20 years, through the support of valued sponsors such as the Smith family, Casino Nova Scotia, both Sydney and Halifax, and Scotiabank, we have been able to offer scholarships to students with disabilities, almost $250,000 worth of scholarships, with 100% of all sponsors' dollars going directly to the students. So our first scholarship recipient this year is Faith Campbell. She is the Scotiabank Scholarship recipient. Faith is a biology major with minors in chemistry and nutrition at Mount St. Vincent University. She's driven by a deep passion for leadership and service, and she constantly demonstrates initiative and commitment across a wide range of activities. This year, Faith completed the Beef Project, Cake Decorating Project, and Tug of War Project through 4-H. She currently serves on the Youth Advisory Committee for 4-H Nova Scotia and has previously held roles such as Club Secretary on the 4-H Council and Cape Breton Regional Ambassador, where she chaired both her club and the regional rally. Her dedication has also extended to volunteering at several 4-H Youth Atlantic members conferences and representing Nova Scotia at Canada's GROW Conference in 2023. In addition to her 4-H involvement, Faith is the current co-chair of the NSSA Provincial Conference Committee, a student-led leadership organization. She previously served on the Youth Advisory Committee for HRY and was actively involved in various school clubs and committees throughout her education. Professionally, Faith has gained diverse experience working as a farmhand, financial services representative, and administrative student with the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works, where she collaborated with engineers. These roles reflect her work ethic, her adaptability, and her intellectual curiosity. A multiple-year Gold Academic Award recipient and proud winner of the prestigious NSSA Brilliancy Award, Faith is recognized for her intelligence, creativity, and exceptional leadership. She thrives on collaboration, innovation, and making a meaningful difference in every community she joins. So congratulations to Faith. She's not able to be here with us to accept the scholarship in person, but it has been delivered to her, and we wish her all the best in her future endeavors. Let's give Faith a round of applause. All right. So our next recipient is Tyler Stubbard, the Scotiabank Scholarship recipient. Hailing from New Waterford, Nova Scotia, 17-year-old Tyler Stubbard is a proud grade 12 student at Brent Education Centre. Raised in a loving home with both parents and an older brother, Tyler has faced and overcome significant challenges on his academic journey. Diagnosed with a learning disability that affects reading comprehension and visualization, Tyler has shown remarkable dedication and resilience in his pursuit of success. Despite these obstacles, Tyler has remained committed to his goals, proving that hard work and persistence truly does pay off. His determination has earned him a place in the Bachelor of Arts Community Studies, Sport, and Physical Activity Leadership program at Cape Breton University, which he will begin in the fall of 2025. So graduation's just around the corner. With plans to follow this with a Bachelor of Education, Tyler aspires to become a physical education teacher with the Cape Breton Victoria Regional Centre for Education. A passionate advocate for physical activity and sport, Tyler looks forward to inspiring children of all ages to lead active, healthy lifestyles. His dream career combines his love for movement, his commitment to community, and his desire to remain close to the people who have supported him the most, his family and his friends. Tyler is honored to be selected as a recipient of the Scotiabank Scholarship. He extends heartfelt thanks to PAANS for supporting his goals and helping make his future brighter. As Tyler looks ahead to the next chapter of his life, his positivity and drive are sure to lead him to continued success. So congratulations to you, Tyler. So our next award recipient is here with us today as well. Lauren McDougall is the recipient of the Casino Nova Scotia Sydney Scholarship this year. Lauren McDougall is a fourth-year Bachelor of Science in Chemistry student at Cape Breton University. In her spare time, she enjoys reading, playing, watching sports, and spending time with friends. Throughout high school, she was actively involved in varsity basketball and softball. After graduating, Lauren shifted her focus from athletics to giving back through volunteering. This shift led her to several meaningful initiatives where she has been able to give back to her community. Lauren is currently the outreach coordinator for the CBU Chemistry Society, where she organizes chemistry outreach events for local schools. She volunteers with Island Wise, delivering STEM activities to young girls across Cape Breton Island. Additionally, Lauren is involved in the Motion Ball Marathon of Sport, a national fundraiser for the Special Olympics Canada Foundation. As a team captain, she helps organize their participation and lead fundraising efforts. This event brings people together for a fun day of inclusive sports while raising awareness and support for athletes with intellectual disabilities. After completing her degree, Lauren plans to pursue a master's in forensic science. Her goal is to become a forensic chemist, combining her passion for lab work with the opportunity to contribute to the justice system. Lauren is excited to build a career in a field that fascinates her and allows her to continuously learn and apply science in a meaningful way. Very admirable. Now we're going to begin the presentation of our county awards, and just a little bit about this. I want to, at this point, do a shout out to our accessibility committee. And I know we've got a couple folks in the room who are part of that group. They've been working really hard to try to make an improvement to accessibility in Richmond County, and then further developed into a committee that worries about inclusion, diversity, equity as well. And so it's a really great group of people to work with, and I'm very fortunate to be the chair. One of the ideas that has come from that committee work, though, is recognizing that there's a lot of folks inside of Richmond County who are making a difference as well in terms of the volunteer work and the work that they do in communities. So these awards were designed to recognize that, to recognize individuals here in Richmond County who go above and beyond to remove barriers, to enrich the lives of people with accessibility challenges, and to advocate for more inclusive and equitable spaces. So this is our inaugural year of doing these awards, and I'm very pleased to welcome three wonderful people here today. The first is Maureen Sampson. Maureen founded and currently facilitates an information and support group for individuals experiencing vision challenges in Richmond County. The group meets monthly at the Almadam New Horizons Club in Arichat, where members share their experiences, discuss common challenges, explore available resources, and occasionally welcome guest speakers from organizations that support people with vision impairments. Now, in its second year, the group continues to provide valuable connections and advocacy. In addition to facilitating these monthly meetings, Maureen actively advocates for greater accessibility across Richmond County by encouraging organizations to implement upgrades that better accommodate individuals with vision loss. She is a great advocate for change and support. So thank you for your work, Maureen, and congratulations. I'll ask you to come and accept your award. The next recipient of our Richmond County Awards is Holly Sampson. And Holly is with us today, pleased to say. She's an outstanding example of strength, resilience, and determination. As a double amputee, she wears her prosthetic legs with pride and openly shares her journey to inspire others. Holly has recently joined the Legion in Lordways and is working diligently towards becoming a fully enrolled cadet instructor cadre officer. And if I pronounce that wrong, you'll have to correct me later. Holly is deeply committed to creating a safe, inclusive, and welcoming environment for all cadets, both physically and socially. She ensures that all cadet activities are communicated in clear, user-friendly language, helping every cadet feel informed and included. Affectionately known as the Cadet Mom, Holly uplifts those around her with words of encouragement and thoughtful support. She constantly reminds cadets to recognize their potential, always offering a kind word or a much-needed boost of confidence. Despite her busy schedule, Holly goes above and beyond in her role. She generously volunteers her time to take various officer development courses, including Indigenous cultural awareness training. She is also certified as a biathlon official and coaches both the local cadet biathlon and marksmanship teams. Holly often tells the cadets with a smile, "If I can do this with my legs, you can definitely do it with yours." She truly embodies the spirit of perseverance, compassion, and leadership, and continues to be a shining role model for everyone around her. So thank you for your work, Holly. I'll ask you to come up and accept your award. And last, but absolutely not least, our next recipient is Barb McNeil. Barb is a champion who passionately supports, defends, and uplifts others, a person who fights for beliefs, rights, and principles with unwavering dedication. Barb McNeil not only embodies this definition, but she also surpasses it in every way. Barb's tireless commitment, compassion, and advocacy have fostered a community where youth with diverse special needs are not only included, but truly celebrated. Through her work, these young individuals and their families feel seen, they feel valued, and they feel empowered. Her impact is immeasurable, instilling self-worth, building confidence, and nurturing a deep sense of belonging in every life she touches. Barb serves as president of both the Hearts of Almadam Disability Society and the Abilities Society. In everything she does, she goes above and beyond. One of the most extraordinary recent examples was organizing a group trip to Disney World this past spring for residents of 3 small options homes. This extraordinary experience, made possible through Barb's leadership and extensive fundraising efforts, created lifelong memories for the participants. Barb's generosity knows no bounds. She gives her time selflessly, never seeking recognition. Because of her, youth in our community have enjoyed enriching opportunities such as attending Harlem Globetrotters games, monster truck shows, musicals, circus visits, themed parties, and even employment at our local ice cream parlor. Barb is a powerful advocate for accessibility. She not only speaks about its importance, she lives it. No matter the obstacle, she finds a way to break through it, guided by her passion for ensuring that every member of our community feels included and respected. No one champions this cause with more heart and soul than Barb McNeil. Her work is a beacon of hope and transformation. On behalf of all those whose lives have been touched by her extraordinary efforts, it is with the deepest respect and gratitude that we offer her this award today. So that wraps up our award recipients for today. I want to thank everyone for coming. I do want to also offer Scott, or if there's anyone who would like to make a few remarks. So let me know if you would like to come up. There he is. Oh my gosh, you were right under my nose. I didn't even see it. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but really want to welcome you. If you could introduce yourself, that'd be great. Thank you.
No microphone needed. All right. So I'm Scott Purdy. I'm the Opportunities Fund coordinator with the YMCA. In short, the Opportunities Fund is a hiring incentive for individuals with disabilities. It is funded through Employments and Social Development Canada. So this is a 3-year agreement that the YMCA has with the federal government. So we're into our final year of our agreement. And the goal is to have 150 individuals employed through a work experience through the Opportunities Fund. So to date, we're around 103, 104 individuals. I didn't check the spreadsheet,
Over
earlier today, but anyway, it's over 100. So it is client driven. So that just simply means that if there's any employers that might be in the audience, certainly they can get in touch with me at the YMCA. I work out of the Welton Street office in Sydney, but it is for all of Cape Breton. Okay, so the Opportunities Fund is available for individuals for all over Cape Breton. That's what it's mandated for. So what I mean by when it's client driven, it just simply means that a client would have to do an intake at any Nova Scotia Works Employment Service Center, also at Sedney as well. So we do have partner Nova Scotia Works agencies that we work with. So that's the key partnership there. And they simply do an intake at at a Nova Scotia Works Employment Service Center or Sedney. And from there, we determine if the individual does meet the criteria for the fund itself. But essentially, it gives the client an opportunity to gain work experience. And the fund is meant for employers to offset training costs with that. And it's not a work experience. Sorry, it's not a, how do I say, it's not an employment program or a pre-employment program. It is employment. So that's the thing I want to stress there. And as I said, the fund wraps up, this current agreement wraps up in March of 2026. And when the request for proposals comes out, I guess in summer, I'm thinking we will certainly apply to carry on and hopefully, be the recipients again to carry on the Opportunities Fund with the YMCA of Cape Breton. So this is a call out for anyone. If you know of any employers in the area that are open to hiring individuals with disabilities, they can certainly get in touch with me and I can give them more information. But yeah, that's pretty much it as far as the Opportunities Fund goes. And I do want to say a big thank you to Shannon for welcoming me here today. And as a token of our appreciation, refreshments are there. So some snacks and tea and coffee, courtesy of the YMCA. And again, a big thank you for Richmond County for putting on this event today.
I will actually put one more person on the spot. Esther, would you like to say a few words? No pressure if not, but I wanted to offer. So while Esther is making her way up here, I do want to mention that our IDEA committee is a joint effort by the Municipality of Richmond County, but also the St. Peter's Village Commission. And so we're very pleased to have their chair of the Village Commission, Esther Donnell, here with us today and as part of our committee on a regular basis. She's a great champion for folks who are facing all kinds of challenges and barriers. So over to you, Esther.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. This is kind of putting me on the spot, but I'm never a loss for words. When I look at the three, especially the three recipients of the awards, the accessibility awards, I have to look at the area that they've covered, the examples that you've set for people with disabilities, and how important it is to be accepted and to achieve. And I think when we look at all of Richmond County, for these individuals that we have in Richmond County that have accessibility issues, whatever they are, and how they've functioned and how they've been allowed to fit into society in an acceptable way. I have limited, I have physical accessibility. I've had some hip replacements, knee replacements, and that's only a minor. But it's really made me look at the fact is that I can't always access buildings. I can't always go into places that or move as fast as what I want. And that's just a minor. That's just a minor thing. But I think when we look at people and how much they've achieved, it's beyond. It's just, and our society is so appreciative. And I hope that
everyone here that received an award, whether it's a scholarship award, whether it's an achievement award, that they need to look at all that they've done and all that they've achieved to help people move on and be accepted in society. Thank you so much.
All right. And so to wrap things up, I do want to say again a special thank you to the YMCA for being here and being supportive of this event today, to Nova Scotia Leo for having us host these awards again, and also to very specifically to the members of our IDEA committee and the members of staff at both the St. Peter's Village Commission and here in the county. Megan is here with us today. Shannon, Danielle, you've been instrumental in all of this work. Richmond County, I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, or just like do this if I'm wrong. I believe we were the first municipality in Nova Scotia to submit our updated IDEA plan. So our inclusive diversity, equity, accessibility plan. And it was just recently accepted and approved by the provincial government. So we're pretty proud of that achievement. Am I saying that right? Yep. Okay. I'm getting the nodding heads. I just want to make sure. But it was quite an achievement. We did break some ground, I think, in terms of municipalities kind of taking the lead and making that happen. And the plan really is all about what are the steps that we can take to do better at being more inclusive, more equitable, and more accessible. So thank you to them for their incredible work on that. So I think we will wrap it up there, and I'll ask Lois to come back up and provide us with some closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to echo Councillor Memberket's mention of all the work that staff has done, and certainly staff has been an integral part of the IDEA committee, but much of that rests on Amanda's shoulders. So many thanks to Amanda for her work on that committee. So she's certainly been a champion of these events and all the things that go into Access Awareness Week. So in closing, I would just like to say thank you to all of you for joining us in celebrating the inspiring individuals who are making a real difference in advancing accessibility and inclusion in Richmond County and all of Cape Breton. Your presence today is a reminder that inclusion is a shared responsibility and a shared achievement. Let's carry the spirit of Access Awareness Week forward in our daily actions and continue working together to build a more accessible future for everyone.
Thank you for watching. Please tune in again to find out what we will be talking about on The Record.